Welcome to the deep dive. If you've felt the global news cycle spinning, maybe, I don't know, warp speed lately, you're definitely not alone.
Absolutely. It's been intense.
Yeah, just in the past day or two, we've seen the National Guard deployed in a capital city.
Mm.
We've heard really heated talk about a crucial water dispute.
And even that story about people paying to pretend to work. Wild.
Exactly. It's
Oh.
just, it's a huge amount of information,
Yeah.
and trying to sift through it all can feel, well, a bit much.
It really can.
So here on the deep dive, our mission is pretty straightforward. We take your sources, articles, research, our own notes, and we pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight.
Think of it as a shortcut, really. A way to get properly informed without drowning in all the noise.
Precisely. Today we're embarking on a deep dive into headlines from August 12th and 13th, 2025. Global stuff, domestic stuff.
Yep. And our aim is to bring you some surprising facts, give you that crucial context, from different angles.
And help you navigate this really complex web of events.
Yeah.
Because they are connected. Okay, so let's unpack this. The global stage. It's buzzing. Some pretty dramatic moves, especially around U.S. politics and international relations.
Right off the bat, Washington, D.C.
Yeah, these reports are striking. We're looking at Google News, Hindustan Times, BBC, the Economic Times, today's News Online. They're all reporting the National Guard has moved in.
Taking control, basically, after President Trump declared this criminal emergency.
And the language used is strong. Some reports call it a takeover of D.C. law enforcement.
And the mayor is pushing back hard, calling it an authoritarian push. You see the visuals, too. Armored vehicles, tourist spots.
It feels significant domestically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are the long-term thoughts here? The impact of this kind of presidential action on, balance of power,
Yeah.
federal versus local.
That's the core question, isn't it? When you deploy the Guard like this in the Capitol. Well, it immediately brings up concerns. Separation of powers, civil liberties. It's not just the optics now, it's the precedent it sets. How executive actions might just redefine federal reach into local stuff, especially under an emergency.
Right. And beyond D.C., we're also seeing these really high-stakes diplomatic moves playing out.
Definitely. Mint, India today, today's News Online, the Economic Times, they're all pointing to this upcoming Trump-Putin summit in Alaska.
Alaska, yeah. Framed as a listening exercise, but
But as the reports say, nerds are on a knife edge. Doesn't exactly sound relaxed.
not really. And it's interesting. Putin had that call with North Korea's Kim Jong-un just before this summit was announced, right?
Yeah, that timing, it really hints at this complex dance, maybe some power projection before they even sit down together.
And speaking of delicate balances, India-U.S. relations seem, well, they're under the microscope, too.
For sure. We're seeing reports, Google News, Mint, India Today, today's News Online again. Looks like PM Modi is probably visiting the U.S. next month.
For the UN General Assembly session, yeah.
Yeah.
With plans to meet Trump.
And the stated goal, to iron out issues on trade. Especially important given what's described as a downturn in ties.
A downturn. It's a fascinating dynamic, though, because on one hand, the U.S. says its ties with both India and Pakistan are unchanged.
Right, even after those nuke remarks from Pakistan's Army Chief Asim Munir.
But then you have the U.S. Treasury's Besant calling India a bit recalcitrant on trade. That's from Mint and today's News Online.
A bit of mixed messaging there, perhaps.
Seems like it. And India Today, as this other layer, citing a security expert who claims the U.S. lacks, quote, expertise in dealing with India after something called Operation Sindoor.
Which sounds like some kind of past incident, maybe undisclosed, that's created a knowledge gap.
That's the implication. And this same expert warns that Trump's America First approach.
Which often seems to prioritize bilateral deals over those bigger alliances.
Exactly. That, plus tensions over Russian oil, could risk undermining key Indo-Pacific alliances. Partnerships like the Quad.
Which are crucial, really, for counterbalancing China's influence in the region.
So the question becomes, how do these individual policy choices, these diplomatic moves, potentially weaken that bigger strategic picture?
It's a critical question. And that idea of strategic objectives, alliances, it brings us right to another area where international cooperation is really being tested, shared resources.
Ah, yes. And here's where things get, well, really interesting, maybe worrying. A vital resource, water, is becoming a major flashpoint.
The rhetoric is definitely heating up.
Absolutely. The Indus Waters Treaty.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been a cornerstone of stability for decades.
For decades, yeah, between India and Pakistan.
And now it seems under direct threat. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. He's issued some really strong threats, vowing India would be stopped from taking, quote, even one drop of water.
And he made that really provocative statement, too, about not leave Donbass.
Which is jarring language, right?
Yeah.
Evokes conflict zones.
It really does.
Yeah.
The Economic Times is reporting Pakistan is pushing to revive the treaty, but India is rejecting international court jurisdiction on it.
So it's an escalation.
Definitely. And it doesn't just highlight the global worry over resource scarcity, especially water.
Which is huge everywhere.
Right. But it also shows how these historical agreements, things that seem settled, can suddenly become flashpoints again, with potential impacts way beyond just water.
And it's fascinating, isn't it, how the U.S. maintains, as we just discussed, that its ties are unchanged amidst all this.
It really is. It makes you wonder how sustainable that position is if things keep escalating like this.
Okay, so moving from these big geopolitical chess moves, let's shift focus to India itself. We're seeing a mix there, immediate weather concerns, some really surprising social issues, and infrastructure challenges.
A real cross-section of daily life and systemic issues.
First up, the weather. Monsoon season woes are definitely front and center. Google News has red alerts for 5 districts in Telangana.
Officials on alert, schools closing early in Hyderabad.
GHMC schools. And Mint reports heavy rain hitting Mumbai, while the Economic Times forecasts more heavy rain for Delhi soon, August 14th to 17th. Potential waterlogging.
And these weather events, they often just pile onto existing problems, don't they? Like that India Today report on Gurugram's environment.
That was alarming. The Sahibi River, the Aravalli Hills, the forests,
Yeah.
described as either gone or in a dire state.
All because of, quote, unchecked, ill-planned development, which then leads to floods, choking dust. It's a vicious cycle.
It really paints a picture of rapid development, maybe outpacing the planning needed to sustain it.
Exactly. And you see these kinds of administrative pressures pop up in unexpected places, too, like voter rolls.
Oh, right. Those stories were bizarre. India Today and the Economic Times had them. In Varanasi, this claim of over 50 people registered as sons of just one man.
Ram Kamal Das, yeah. And then in Bihar, a 35-year-old woman listed as 124 years old on the voter list.
I mean, these aren't just typos, are they? They raise real questions about data integrity, maybe governance.
They certainly do. And these daily realities, they also manifest in just tragic human stories.
Yeah, Mint in India Today reported that awful road accident in Rajasthan. 10 people killed, 7 of them children, when a pickup hit a truck.
Just terrible. And then the Economic Times had that story from New in Haryana. A parking dispute escalating into violence, 4 wounded, motorcycles burned.
It shows how quickly things can flare up. These local incidents, they feel like reminders of underlying pressures, maybe everyday dangers.
Indeed. They really highlight the lived realities and the challenges in a country developing so rapidly. Each one, weather impacts, voter list errors, local conflict. It can reflect those bigger systemic issues.
And thinking about how policy impacts individuals, India Today also flagged that H-1B visa change in the U.S.
Right, requiring in-person interviews now for most applicants, including Indian tech workers.
That could cause real problems, right? Delays, maybe even losing work permits for quite a few people.
Potentially significant disruption, yeah.
And one more from India, sort of on the ground level, stray animal welfare. India Today looked into Delhi's sterilization centers after a Supreme Court order. Poor hygiene, overcrowding, serious operational lapses. Not great. The Economic Times also noted Rahul Gandhi expressed concern about that SC order.
So it's a small example, maybe, but it shows that gap between policy intention and practical execution, doesn't it?
It really does. And these domestic challenges, these human stories we see in India, they remind us that similar struggles, often much worse, frankly, are happening globally.
Absolutely. Which brings us to those ongoing humanitarian crises that really demand our attention.
Let's shift there, alongside some unique and just thought-provoking stories from around the world. Gaza first. The situation sounds incredibly dire.
It really does. UN News reports record starvation and malnutrition, a catastrophic health system, hospitals overwhelmed, medicine shortages.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And the UN is also highlighting UNESCO condemning the unacceptable killing of journalists there.
Yes, and the UN itself urging a probe into the deaths of Anas al-Sharif and 6 other journalists. It's dangerous work.
And you even had Madonna, according to the DVC, urging the Pope to visit Gaza before it's too late.
Wow. And then there was that unsettling report, today's News Online mentioned it, about discussions, potential discussions, to relocate Gazan Palestinians to South Sudan.
That raises huge questions.
It really does, and it brings up that bigger point. In this flood of information, How do we prioritize empathy? How do we prioritize action for these huge crises while still acknowledging all the other human stories happening every day?
It's a tough balance. And
Mhm.
Gaza isn't the only crisis zone, obviously. Sudan.
Yes, UN News and the BBC are reporting deep alarm over a major attack in El Fasher. Dozens killed at the Abu Shuk camp for displaced people.
Just awful. And Haiti continues to struggle. The UN says the world has the tools to help, while the U.S. now charges against that gang leader, barbecue.
So, ongoing efforts there, but clearly a long way to go.
And then environmentally, Europe's summer.
Blazing. Yeah, the BBC has extensive coverage of wildfires across southern Europe, Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, the Balkans.
Temperatures over 40 Celsius.
Yeah,
The aerial footage is just devastating. A really stark picture of the climate challenges.
it really is. These crises, humanitarian, environmental, they just underscore how interconnected everything is. And then you get these other almost surreal stories.
Like the one from China, with high youth unemployment.
Yeah, the BBC reported people are apparently paying to go into offices and just pretend to work.
Paying to pretend to work. It's quite a symptom of economic pressure, isn't it?
It's extraordinary. And then you have incidents that highlight social tensions, sometimes violently.
Like that terrible attack in the U.S. reported by India today. A 70-year-old Sikh man attacked with a golf club near a gurdwara. Critically injured.
Just senseless violence. Though, on a more positive note regarding the Indian community abroad, India Today also mentioned the Irish president, Michael D. Higgins.
Right, condemning attacks there, saying the community brings immeasurable benefits.
A welcome statement. These stories, big and small, tragic and hopeful, they just paint such a vivid, complex picture of global life.
So, wow, we've covered a lot of ground today. From National Guard troops in D.C., escalating international disputes over water and trade.
To communities struggling with environmental decay, local conflicts, weird voter rolls.
And then these huge humanitarian crises alongside really personal individual stories from around the world.
It really hammers home how interconnected everything is, doesn't it? How headlines that seem worlds apart often share these common threads. Human experience, societal pressures.
Absolutely. Which kind of leaves us with a final thought, maybe something for you, the listener, to reflect on.
Yeah. Thinking about all this, the sheer volume, the complexity of the news we absorb, how does the speed at which we consume it all shape how we actually understand these really pressing issues?
And maybe what responsibility do we have as listeners, as citizens, to look beyond just the headlines, to dig a bit deeper for that meaning, those connections that really explain the world around us?